Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and it's time once again to do another movie review. This time out, I'm going to be reviewing Stakeland, which is a new vampire film, post-apocalyptic vampire film that was made in 2010 and was released in a limited fashion theatrically earlier this year. It's now available on Blu-ray and DVD, and I just checked it out tonight. And this is a film that was written and directed by Jim Mickle, and co-written by one of the stars, Nick Damici. If those names sound remotely familiar, you may be familiar with their movie called Mulberry Street, which came out in 2006 and was part of the After Dark Horror Fest series of films, the 8 Films to Die For series. Rather than being about a plague that turns people into giant rat creatures, this movie is about a plague that initially, it seems, turned people into vampires, and then of course vampires are pretty much self-propagating once they get started. The film takes place in a post-apocalyptic United States, looks to be somewhere in eastern Pennsylvania based on the filming locations that I was able to see from the film. And we are brought into the story and introduced to a character named Martin, who sees his parents attacked and killed by a vampire, and he's rescued by someone who goes by the name of simply Mr. And Mr. takes Martin out on the road with him and starts training him to be a vampire hunter, which is what he is. And the film documents their travels as Mr. attempts to take Martin to a place called New Eden, which appears to be sort of a refuge, almost mythical sounding refuge from this vampire infestation. Along the way they come across some other characters. One is appears to be a nun who was being attacked by some members of this religious cult that has sprung up in the absence of any government or any real authority, called the Brotherhood. And they also run across a pregnant teenager named Belle, and they take her along, and there's also a guy named Willie that they run across and take him along for a short while. And that's mainly what the film is. It concentrates on the characters who happen to be living in a world that's populated by bloodthirsty vampires. The film shares a lot of very similar elements to movies like The Road. It's very reminiscent of the tone of The Road. It's very doom and gloomy with a lot of religious overtones. And of course there's the, similarities to a movie like Zombieland, where of course it takes place in a post-apocalyptic United States. But there's rarely any humor in this film, although it does have a slight amount to keep it from being absolutely too gloomy. But it really just has more of an emphasis on the characters, and that's what really drives it along. And the religious aspect to it is kind of an interesting twist on the genre as well, because you've got what I would classify as sort of good people who are involved in religion, which would be like the sister, who's played by Kelly McGillis from Top Gun. And then you've got sort of the bad aspect, which is these cults that are springing up, like the Brotherhood, who take things way to the other extreme. Rather than trying to help people, they try to basically enslave people. And then you've sort of got that neutral, middle-of-the-road, non-believing type aspect, which is sort of where Mr. falls in. So there are different perspectives on religion and how that would play out, at least a little bit. The movie doesn't concentrate on it. It's more of a backdrop rather than the actual focus of the film. For a low-budget movie, this movie does look great. The cinematography is wonderful. The direction is really solid. This is just a really entertaining movie that runs for about an hour and a half. And I really couldn't find anything that I didn't like about it. I was engrossed from the minute I started watching it to the end of the film. Does it bring anything entirely new to the table? Not really. Like I said, it's got a lot of familiar elements to it. Like I can reference the tone from The Road and the post-apocalyptic aspects from, you know, Zombieland, Last Man on Earth, I Am Legend, things like that. So this isn't anything you haven't seen before. It's just a really well-done version of it that's propelled by pretty strong characters and some great performances from the cast. Nick Damici, like I said, he's the co-writer. He plays Mr. Connor Paolo plays Martin. Danielle Harris plays Belle, the pregnant girl, and of course you may know her from the Halloween series, both the old series and of course the Rob Zombie remake. And like I said, Kelly McGillis is in this, and apparently she hasn't been in a film in quite a while and chose this to be the film she came back with, I guess. And I didn't even recognize her until I read her name in the credits, so she's looking a lot older than she did in Top Gun, but she puts together a really nice performance in this movie. If I had to rate Stakeland, you know, keeping in mind that it's a horror film and this is sort of a genre-specific rating, I'd have to give it a 9 out of 10. It's definitely not perfect, but it's really entertaining, very solid, and I think you should check it out. That's Stakeland. And as always, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And thanks again for watching, everybody. Take it easy.